What's going on, everyone? It is Geno D'Angelo, your local Northern Michigan real estate guide. It is Thursday at 7:30. So it is time for our weekly YouTube live where we talk about everything Northern Michigan real estate related, whether you're thinking about moving here, retiring here, relocating here, or maybe you're just here and you're wondering if you should even stay here. I come to you live to answer any questions that you may have about what's going on in Northern Michigan. Tonight could be the last time we do the live at 7:30. It was my son's last Pop Warner football practice, which was the reason we moved from 7 to 7:30 to begin with. So drop a 1 in the chat if you prefer 7:30 over 7. If enough of you that watch consistently like 7:30 better, we'll keep 7:30. If not, I plan to go back to 7 o'clock for the winter months. I know a lot of you watch me live every week, and even more of you come back and watch the replay, and I want to thank you for doing so. If you're not yet subscribed, it would mean the world to me if you would do so. That way you never miss a video. We talk about restaurants, shopping, dining, real estate, trends, things you don't know about, comparing areas such as we're doing tonight. And I truly make these to make you the most educated buyer, resident of seller of Northern Michigan. And I've a lot of people ask me, why do you talk about the negatives of Northern Michigan? And I say every area has a negative. Not every area is perfect. Northern Michigan is far from perfect, although it's perfect for me. It's perfect for a lot of you. I'd rather you know ahead of time what you're getting into before you come up north. If I hide the fact that the winters are harsh here, you're going to find out sooner rather than later. So I've chosen, just to be honest, to give you the full scope of what is going on in Northern Michigan. If you're in Northern Michigan or you're visiting Northern Michigan this weekend, it is peak color. And the fall was a little bit warm this year. We had some 85-degree days a couple of weeks ago, and I think it sort of dimmed the colors. The colors don't seem to be as vibrant as they typically are this time of year at the peak. And definitely the peak season seemed to be a little bit shorter this year. So tonight we're going to compare 3 places: Petoskey, Charlevoix, and Gaylord. So as always, drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching from. And that way it gives me a better idea of where we're reaching. Also, if there's anything you'd like to talk about from last week or this week, any questions about interest rates, building costs, what areas you should avoid, what areas you should move to, I'm 100% here to help you and look forward to that. So tonight we're going to talk about Charlevoix, Gaylord, and Petoskey. Those are 3 areas we continually get people who want to relocate to. So I felt this is a good time to either time. Generally, I watch replay and not live. Harbor Springs. Ken, thank you so much for watching from Harbor Springs. I love Harbor Springs. Actually, fun fact, Ken, my son's last Pop Warner football game is Saturday in Petoskey at Northman Field, and we play Harbor Springs. So should be a good game. We were just at your beautiful football field a couple of weeks ago. If you've never been to the Harbor Springs football field, it's actually really interesting. Harbor Springs is one of my favorite towns in Northern Michigan. They're just directly across the bay from Petoskey, quintessential resort town. All 4 seasons, storybook. In the winter, their Christmas tree is set up in the center of downtown, so it's what you see when you drive through. And their football field, I heard a rumor it's turf now. When I was growing up there, the football field in Harbor Springs was grass, but it's turf. I heard they actually took the turf from the old Petoskey field and put it there. But the seating is built into the side of the hill like a Coliseum. So super cool. Love Harbor Springs. Lakes of the North, but down in mid-Ohio tonight, I think Lakes of the North is one of the most up-and-coming developments in Northern Michigan. Tons to do there. Great community, close to trails. So those are definitely 2 different spectrums. Harbor Springs, quintessential resort town. Lakes of the North, definitely one of the more up-and-coming. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Drop a comment below if you're tuning in live or tuning in the replay. Let me know where you're watching from. And tonight we're going to compare Charlevoix, Gaylord, and Petoskey. And as I started to say, we are comparing those because those are 3 areas that people choose to relocate to en masse. Look, I'm working with people right now that are coincidentally thinking about relocating here for retirement to live in Harbor Springs, which I think is a super good idea. And I've got a family that's actually relocating here has their eye on Lakes of the North. So with the 2 places, the 2 comments tonight are well represented. Those are both great places. So again, as we go through this, if you have any questions about what's happening in Northern Michigan, feel free to drop a comment and we'll talk about it. Also, if there's any towns you'd like me to compare, we picked this ourselves, Charlevoix, Petoskey, and Gaylord, just because these are areas that we get a lot of demand for. But if you're wondering, the Traverse City, Petoskey one's common, Gaylord, Boyne City, Boyne Falls, we can certainly do those too. So tonight we're going to cover cost of living in real estate, lifestyle and vibe, pros and cons, and who fits where. I think by going through that list of questions, if you're watching this because you're considering relocating to Northern Michigan or wondering if maybe you should make a change and check out a different town in Northern Michigan, this will certainly help you do that. If you're not familiar, a lot of you are familiar, but just in case you're not, the scene of each of these is Petoskey is Bayfront charm and small city polish, meaning we're located, Petoskey's right on the water, quintessential small town. Charlevoix has a beach town energy, meaning it's a little bit more seasonal and lake views. The town is centered around Round Lake, and I was just in Charlevoix today. It's a great place to be in the fall. They just had Apple Fest last weekend, which unfortunately I was out of town because that is one of my favorite events of the year. And then Gaylord is an affordable inland hub with the outdoor lifestyle. Gaylord is certainly becoming the big box mecca of Northern Michigan. It's getting busier and busier. It's for a long time was one of the most affordable places to live in Northern Michigan, and it still is, but the values have really gone up there. Tons of new jobs coming to that area. Gaylord is definitely, uh, again, sort of the hub of year-round living in Northern Michigan. Petoskey overview. Let's talk about Petoskey a little bit. The polished gem. We've got the Gaslight District, which is all the shops and restaurants. My office is located directly smack dab in the middle of the Gaslight District. Bayfront Park, which is the park that goes along the water. There's a playground, bike path, marina, the pier. If you're visiting Petoskey, that is definitely a place you need to check out. Walkable downtown. I get this a question a lot. A lot of people relocate to Northern Michigan because they want that walkable downtown. And Charlevoix also, we're going to get to a little bit, has a great walkable downtown. Petoskey, I think, definitely wins in that category. And then Gaylord just doesn't have, if you want a walkable downtown, Gaylord's probably not the place you're going to move to. There are a lot of benefits of living in Gaylord, but a walkable downtown is just not one of them. Mixed of historic homes and luxury condos, Petoskey does a really good job of having both historic homes and more modern homes. And we're seeing more and more as I drive through downtown, a lot of older homes being renovated and turned into nice modern homes, or at least more updated homes, which I think is a sign of any growing area. Year-round events. I always say if you want to live in Northern Michigan and you want a busy year-round environment, you really have two choices: Petoskey or Traverse City. Now, Traverse City is going to give you more of the bigger city feel. There's a lot of the conveniences, and I know a lot of people who, we just helped a family today, believe it or not, who we met through YouTube. They relocated from Colorado. They sold their house in Colorado and bought a beautiful, large home with peekaboo water views in Traverse City. And their thought was they came here. They actually met me in my office at Petoskey when we were going through the process. And they just felt that they needed some more amenities and some more conveniences that they were used to, which is why they chose Traverse City over Petoskey. And believe it or not, oftentimes, this is something a lot of people don't know. Oftentimes, Traverse City can be cheaper than Traverse City and have more real estate options. Traverse City's doing a good job. They're building a lot there. They're expanding the airport. They're adding, more stores. Seems like every time I'm there, there's something new going on or a new subdivision popping up. So Traverse City is definitely growing. But then there's the other side of the coin that says, look, Traverse City is just too busy. And they elect for Petoskey, Elk Rapids, Charlevoix, Harbor Springs, or even Gaylord, one of the smaller area. Great schools. That is the reason I relocated to Petoskey about 15 years ago. I knew I was going to have a kid, and I wanted the schools for Petoskey in Northern Michigan. My son went to Petoskey St. Francis through elementary, which is the Catholic school, and now has transferred to the Petoskey Middle School, which was, kind of a big adjustment when we started from St. Francis, Petoskey St. Francis. That's a very small school. It's private. It's Catholic. Wear uniforms every day. So believe it or not, he had to wait until he was 11 years old to pick out what he got to wear to school. And he's loved it. Petoskey Middle School is great. They've got great extracurricular, band, sports, football, basketball, volleyball, baseball. And then Petoskey High School is one of the best high schools around. So if you care about schools, they're tough to go wrong with Petoskey. Strong resale value. Petoskey's appreciation rate. There is so many people that want to relocate to Petoskey, and there's only so many homes here and only so many homes on the market at any given time. The values here have gone crazy since COVID, meaning a house that was once 200,000 or 300,000 is probably 400,000 or 500,000, 600,000 right now, which is something we definitely have to deal with. But If you can afford to live here, Petoskey is great for you. And it seems like every time, seems like the homes I'm selling in Petoskey right now, you might find this interesting. The homes I'm selling in Petoskey recently are almost always people who were looking at a more expensive area. And I often talk about the tale of two towns or tale of two markets, not two towns, two markets, where you've got those of us that have been here forever that think these prices have gone up like crazy. And then people who are looking at other coastal towns that feel like Northern Michigan, specifically Petoskey, is still a bargain. So drop a comment below. Let me know, is Petoskey overpriced or underpriced? And I'm curious what your perspective is. If you're from Northern Michigan, you're likely to think it's overpriced. But when you look at other areas with great schools, waterfront living, walkable downtown, beautiful homes, Petoskey stands pretty tall. The pros, I knew this slide was coming, so I should have waited, but that's okay. The pros are it's beautiful, clean, safe, walkable with amenities, top schools, and we have great healthcare. I often tell people this, the reason we get a lot of people relocating with families and the reason we get a lot of retirees relocating here is because we have great healthcare and great schools. And you need both of those things to have a vibrant retiree community and a vibrant family community. Cons, it's incredibly busy here in the summer. Everybody that comes to Northern Michigan, which is a lot, at some point funnel into Petoskey to check out the downtown, to go to North Perk, to go to Simon's General Store, to go to the waterfront. So July, August, walking through downtown just in the morning. I'll mention this: if you don't go to North Perk by 8:30 in the morning in the summer, you're going to be waiting in line. So I'll have to come to the office in the summer and lose track of time, and it's busy and it's 9:15, and I know better than to try to go get coffee unless I've got a half hour to wait in line, which is great for them, but not great for somebody that's busy. Low inventory and higher prices, which is something we talk about a lot. If you can, and I don't mean this in any other way than just matter of fact, if you can get over the prices in Petoskey, Petoskey is a great place to live. And that price, whether we like it or not, the price parameter, the cost of being here is sort of where the rubber meets the road. And some people say it's way overpriced and it's not worth it. And some people are super excited to be here. And those are just two things we have to deal with. Now let's talk about Charlevoix. I think Charlevoix is underrated. It's come a long ways. I think you get a lot of bang for your buck there. Charlevoix, in my opinion, and Ken, if you're still watching, weigh in on my opinion. I think Charlevoix is a good mix of Petoskey and Harbor Springs. It has the quintessential resort feel that Harbor Springs has. There are some very expensive homes in Charlevoix. There's not as many of them as in Harbor Springs. And the downtown, I think, is mainly because downtown Harbor Springs is the quintessential resort town. The road's not very busy versus Charlevoix, where their main street is the way you get, it's US 31. It's the way you get through Charlevoix to get to Traverse City or wherever else you're going, which I think takes some of the quaintness away from it a little bit. It's definitely an artistic town. There's a lot of art fairs. You've got the mushroom houses. You've got a lot of different architecture, which gives it that artsy feel. It is a boater's paradise. You can traverse from Lake Charlevoix, Round Lake to anywhere in the world. You just go under the drawbridge, which we're going to talk about next, and you can literally go anywhere. And that's why you see 70, 80, 100-foot boats sometimes in Round Lake, because those people are able to go wherever they want. If you're a serious boater that also wants the inland waterway feel, Lake Charlevoix is perfect for you. They do have the iconic drawbridge. I'm curious if this is going to show up as a pro or a con as we go a little bit further into the night. If you're in a hurry and you get caught in the drawbridge in Charlevoix in the summertime, it's tough, but that's just part of living here. Strong summer energy and quiet winters. That's the good news, bad news about Charlevoix is I love the energy of Charlevoix in the summer. It just gets awfully quiet in the winter. It's a little bit, you can ski there. You're a little bit away. You're a little ways away from Petoskey, Traverse City. You're just sort of there in the wintertime, which if you want to shut down and get away from it all and enjoy the stillness of Charlevoix, then that could be appealing to you. The pros: stunning waterfront lifestyle, 100%. Short-term rental potential. There's a wait list, but I've heard you can move up pretty quickly. and unmatched lake access. There's simply, if you're a boater, uh, you're gonna have a hard time finding someplace, depending on the type of boating you want to do. But if you want to have a big, beautiful house on Lake Charlevoix with your 40, 50, 60-foot boat on the dock in your backyard that you can take on Lake Charlevoix or take on Round Lake or take it into the big water and go to Chicago, Traverse City, anywhere, Mackinac Island, that is 100% for you. And I know a lot of people relocate here for boating. So definitely something that Charlevoix has done well. The cons are the seasonal economy. It's like a switch. It's summer and winter, and those are two different worlds. Whereas even you look at Traverse City, Petoskey, even Harbor Springs. Harbor Springs obviously has the Highlands and Nubs Knob, which gives it a little bit of a boost in the wintertime to stop it from being so drastically seasonal. But I mean, look, Northern Michigan is going to be seasonal. It's going to be a lot busier in the summer than it is in the winter. I think that the question becomes just how much slower in the winter is it? And that's definitely something Charlevoix is known for, is just being a lot quieter in the winter. Way fewer year-round jobs. The jobs available in Charlevoix are mostly going to be service jobs or, you know, something of that nature, unless you're able to work from home. There is a cement plant there that provides a ton of good paying jobs. There's some other industry in that area, but there's just not as many jobs there as other areas in Northern Michigan. Now let's talk about Gaylord. Gaylord is an underrated one. We've helped a ton of people relocate to Gaylord. In fact, the person we've helped relocate the furthest away was from Germany to Gaylord. Saab, the old car company, if you're familiar, that used to make luxury cars, actually makes bombs now. And Camp Grayling, which is a big military base in Grayling, they opened a plant there to supply bombs to those people. And now, that's a job provider in the area. So central location, easy I-75 access. If you're somebody that's relocating to Northern Michigan and you want to easily get to Metro Detroit or Saginaw or somewhere else in Lower Michigan, Gaylord makes that a lot easier. Gaylord also has the most affordable homes on the list. Now the prices have gone up there, but they're still much, much less expensive than Petoskey, Traverse City, Charlevoix, even Boyne City. Active outdoor lifestyle. Gaylord, if you don't know, is known as the golf mecca. So if you like to golf, if you like to snowmobile, if you like to ski, if you like snow, you're going to love Gaylord. Gaylord got 200 inches of snow last year, which was an all-time record. I'm excited to do some winter content as we get closer to winter this year, because I think I've had a lot of demand for people wanting to know exactly what it's like here in the wintertime. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that. The pros and cons of Gaylord are affordability, acreage and space. It's a lot easier to get a house there with some acreage. Great for families, first-time home buyers. Cons, this might be a pro to you. High snow levels, higher heating costs, limited dining and nightlife, smaller job market. And that is definitely something that we have to contend with. Now I'm going to blow this up a little bit so I can read this. Quick comparison. Category, Petoskey, polished and artsy. Charlevoix, coastal and relaxed. Gaylord is practical. And if you look at the Petoskey, 3 out of 5 stars for pricing. A place like Bay Harbor would be 5 stars, in case you're wondering. Charlevoix is 2 to 3, but Charlevoix's got some expensive homes as well. You can typically find a few more affordable homes there. Gaylord is definitely a lot more affordable. Lake access, excellent, exceptional. There is Otsego Lake. It's not the same type of lake that you get in Charlevoix or Petoskey. Winter energy is steady, quiet, and active. For retirees, Petoskey, access to healthcare, beautiful and quiet. Charlevoix is seasonal living, relaxed pace. Gaylord is easy and quick access to amenities. For remote workers, now I know a lot of you watching are going to work remotely or thinking about working remotely. Great cafes, professional vibe, and internet. Charlevoix is peaceful, inspirational scenery and internet. And then Gaylord has a ton of home office space. So we've sold, actually, I mean, I don't think there's a town in Northern Michigan that we haven't sold. Let me escape out of here. I've got some more slides to get to, but I don't think there's a town in Northern Michigan that we haven't sold both. I would say retirees and remote workers, which is a large portion of our buyer population. when you start to talk about which towns those individuals generally end up in, we've actually had remote workers end up in places like Wolverine, which is a very small town just a little bit north of Gaylord, Elk Rapids. I keep having more and more conversations about people that are discovering Elk Rapids, and I think some of it has to do with the access to both of the lakes. It's affordable. The downtown is, up and coming. It's very close to Traverse City, but you're not in the busyness of Traverse City, and as well as, still close to Petoskey, Charlevoix, Frisky Farms, that sort of thing. So we're seeing people relocate to northern Michigan to retire and remotely work in just about every town. We're going to start tracking which is more. That way we just have a better grasp on it. So my take, Petoskey, this is just my opinion, and your opinion might be different. If I'm wrong, tell me which town, if you're going to relocate to northern Michigan and you're not already here, which town are you going to relocate to, and tell me where I'm wrong. Christ Center Keto says, as a retiree in northern Michigan, I am not into winter sports. Is a great time for trips south. Absolutely. Look, I'm glad you brought that up, because if you're this is something that I do. So I'm into winter sports. I love to snowboard. My son skis. We have the top of the line passes to couple. I should mention this. So I buy the whatever the most expensive pass is, so I can ski as much as I want to. The Highlands and Boyne Mountain, Boyne Highlands do a great job. They've got, if you don't know this and maybe you're new to northern Michigan, you're thinking about relocating here. If you like to ski, for kids that are in school here locally, they have $100 pass for kids. I think it's 18 and under, as long as they're enrolled in school in this area. That's unlimited skiing at both Boyne Mountain and Boyne Highlands. And we've done that for years. And that is one of the coolest things I think they do. But to get back to this comment, I'm going to put it back on here. Get back to this comment. Yeah. So I love to ski, but I also love to travel in the winter. So if you have the ability and you have the flexible lifestyle, certainly if you're a retiree, that's not the case. There's a reason snowbirding is a thing. So yeah, the best thing in the world is spend the summer, fall here, maybe a little bit of the winter, maybe a little bit of the winter, maybe none of the winter, travel, come back. If you like to ski, if you like winter sports, but if not, then that's a great comment. Dr. Ian Ashton says, our favorite lone guy. I made it. Man, school nights get hectic. Absolutely. The fact that we are in the thick of school, hopefully Ian's kids are doing well. I'm sure they are. This was my son's first year with football, which I thought was awesome, but it definitely was a giant time commitment. I'll be honest, I'm going to miss spending 5:30 to 7 on the sidelines, watching them practice 3 days a week, and then the winter, or then the Saturdays. So it's been a good experience. So look, I think that's part of fall in northern Michigan. You're probably wondering, what the heck does your son playing football have to do with me? It has to do with you in the sense of that is high school football is a big part of fall in northern Michigan, the same way cider mills, watching the leaves change, carving pumpkins. I truly think fall in northern Michigan is one of the most special places. I was in Metro Detroit for a conference. It's just not the same. There's no place does it as well as northern Michigan in the fall. Let's go back here. Charlevoix is unbeatable for pure lake life. Yes. If you just care, if you live to boat or live to be on the water, specifically if you have a bigger boat, I mean, you don't have to have a bigger boat, but it seems like a lot of my friends in this area that boat love Lake Charlevoix. I've had the opportunity to spend quite a bit of time on it this summer with those friends. You can take your boat to the landings to have lunch. You can, there's endless bays and coves and things to check out. So definitely Lake Charlevoix, if you care about boating, is a very special place. Gaylord is a gem for affordability and outdoor living. If you're relocating to Gaylord because you're able to work remotely, or maybe you had a job nearby, or you just like being close to 75, or you're a big golfer, or you love the snow, I think Gaylord's great. As somebody that lives in Petoskey, I constantly find myself in Gaylord. And Gaylord has everything you need for fun in northern Michigan. They've got every car dealership. They've got every power sport dealership. They've got Jay's, which if you're not familiar with Jay's Sporting, because it's like Cabela's a little bit smaller, but they've got all the hunting gear. They've got guns. They've got camping. They've got whatever you need. Ken says, during the winter, I still like to ski, snowmobile, snowblower. If or when I'm tired of snow, I'll become a snowbird. All right, Ken, you got to answer the age-old debate. Where do you ski in the wintertime? Are you Nubs or are you the Highlands? I know I'm in the minority, and a girl that I go to CrossFit with, her husband is in charge of Nubs, so we have this debate all the time. But I'm a Highlands fan. I know a lot of people like Nubs, and I'm curious, Ken, which one do you like and why? Are you a? I had a feeling you were going to say Nubs. Let me know, Ken. Let the audience know why you like Nubs, and if it's just the curly fries, I'll understand that. It's pretty wild how much more snow they get than the waterfront towns. Absolutely. Although we do get, and this is one of the reasons that we have two ski hills here, is we do get a lot of what's called lake effect snow, where the water actually becomes a snow machine. It's like a factory. And I'm not a meteorologist, but in essence, the atmosphere sucks up the water, holds it over the ski hills, and then dumps it. And that's why we get tons of snow. And that's why I hang out all the time at the Highlands, and that's why Ken's at Nubs. There's an argument. I don't know if this is true or not. Before I tell you the argument, a lot of locals prefer Nubs, and I go there and I think it's great. And I see a lot of people I know, and it's definitely more of a local feel. They say the snow is better at Nubs, which I can't confirm nor deny. I like both places, but for whatever reason, I think the Highlands did a good job. My son was in the Mountain Masters ski program from the time, man, he must have been 2 or 3 until now. And I think they do a really good job of cultivating that. So I actually, for the first time ever, I might get passes at both places, because if you get the Sunday through Friday pass, it's like $350 or $400. If you buy 1 day pass, it's $80. So if you plan to spend any time there, it's better just to get both passes. I don't know how I did this. Oh, there you go. Ian said, I learned to snowboard at Nubs. Yeah, Nubs is great. Ken, easier parking, fair. Easier locker room, also fair. 3 separate areas on the hill, like Pigtail Peak. Okay, that's a good argument. Ken's making one of the better arguments that I've heard for Nubs. Ken, I hope to see you out here this year. Like I said, I think I'm going to get passes at both places, and I'm going to make a ton of content. Last year, I did a really cool video. At least I can drop it in the comments. Let me see if I can go back and find the video I did last year on the Highlands. Geno D'Angelo, Harbor Springs. In case you guys haven't seen this video, I did a video last year on the hill. Yeah, right here. Here, I'm going to drop this comment. In case you haven't seen this video, I did a video last year on Boyne Highlands. I'm going to do another one this year. I'll probably do another one at Nubs. My plan is to make a ton of winter content. So I think that's one of the, and selfishly, I like the winter. It's easier because we're not as busy in the winter. And also I do think the winter is a time of year that it's like I don't say mental block, but it's something that it's a fear that I'll say it this way. It's a fear that a lot of people relocating here have. Out our way, we have rabid snowmobilers. Yes, you guys are in the heart of snowmobile country. Lakes of the North, I'm going to show on a map real quick, because a lot of people don't know where Lakes of the North is. Bear with me 1 second. So here, this is a good, if I can share the screen. Oh, shoot. Let's see how I do this. Share screen. Lakes of the North. Here we go. So let me zoom out a little bit. Lakes of the North is actually highlighted on the screen now with those red dots, if you can see. So right over here, if you look on the upper right, you probably can't see my cursor, but if you look on the upper right, that's Gaylord. So it's located between Gaylord and Mansalona. I think technically the addresses are usually Mansalona there. But this is, if you're talking about the 45th parallel, this is probably the 45th parallel may run through Lakes of the North. Weigh in if you know if that's true or not. Let me know. So yeah, this area, this Lakes of the North area, that is one of the best places in northern Michigan to snowmobile. So in case you weren't familiar with it, now you know. And there you go. So yeah, if you love winter, you're gonna love northern Michigan. I think it's one of those situations where you have to give yourself a chance. If you just don't want to deal with the cold, you don't want to deal with the snow, I certainly wouldn't blame you, and also if you're thinking about relocating to Michigan full time and you've never spent a winter here, make a trip up in the winter, stay at the Perry, stay somewhere close to everything. And that way you can have an experience of what it's actually like to be here. You do have nice snowmobiling trails there and you get lots of snow there. Absolutely. So I grew up in Indian River, which is just a little bit north of Gaylord, and we got a ton of snow. We used to drive our snowmobiles to school. I love snowmobiling. Uh, the problem is I ski a lot and I'm busy enough that it's very hard to do both skiing and snowmobiling. Ian says, I hated winter, but once I embraced it, I love it. Yeah, I think if you're going to you have to give winter a chance. You're never going to like it if you don't give it a chance. And I'll be honest, when you get from like this time of year, and look, I mean, we've had snow in October before. It's 52 degrees right now. So I don't think that's going to be the case this year. Halloween, 10 days away, 15 days away, 2 weeks away. We've had snow on Halloween plenty of times. Um, so we are about to get snow. So from now until New Year's Day is one of the most special times of year to be in Northern Michigan, because I think there's something about Northern Michigan and the way they do the holidays here. I started off by talking about Ken's hometown of Harbor Springs. They do a great job with their tree lighting. Petoskey, Boyne City has the Santa Parade. Everybody does something here special for the holidays. And typically we don't have a bunch of snow by then anyways. So there's like the tale of two winters. It's like you have the now until January 1st, the holidays, the Hallmark, you're basically living in a snow globe, a Hallmark movie. Then you get into January, and January and February you're in it to win it. You're snowmobiling, you're snowboarding, you're skiing, you're living at the hills. And then even me, and I love snowboarding, but you start to get into March, April, you're ready for spring, but it goes quick. If you can keep yourself occupied, it definitely goes by quickly. I'll be honest with you. That's my presentation for tonight. That's all I had to talk about. So now I'm going to leave the floor open. I see a lot of comments coming in. Drop a comment. Let me know. What do you think about winter in Northern Michigan? What do you think about Northern Michigan? How does Northern Michigan work for you? What are your plans? Ian says winter 2 tracking the GPS. Yeah, look, first thing you need to do when you move to Northern Michigan, if you're working with Ian and I, we're going to talk you into buying. I'm the realtor that will tell you to spend a little bit less on your house. That way you have money left over to buy a side-by-side or a Jeep or a four-wheeler or a snowmobile, because that is having the toys. Look, I've had people that their toy is a tractor. They go buy the Kubota tractor and they do tractor stuff around their yard. And I think that's a quintessential part of being in Northern Michigan also. So make sure inside tip, if you're relocating to Northern Michigan, make sure you save some money in your budget for some kind of toy. It could be a mountain bike, it could be a nice set of skis, it could be some snowshoes, but there is tons of stuff to do just outside your front door. And I hope that's the reason you're considering Northern Michigan in the first place. Lori and Paul watching from Atlanta, Georgia, looking forward to retiring in Petoskey. Fun fact, I've got a really good friend. Her name is Sarah Maslowski, who is actually the person that got me into doing YouTube videos, because she does them for the suburbs. I should know this. I don't know where let me look this up. 1 second. I'm going to tell you where she's at. As soon as I see it, I'm going to know. She's in Beaufort, Georgia. So wherever Beaufort, Georgia is, I know it's the suburbs of Atlanta, so I'm sort of familiar with that area. But that's great. Looking forward to retiring in Petoskey. I hope when the time comes, I can be of service to you. Let me know what is drawing. What's your connection? I love when I hear people, somebody coming from Atlanta, Georgia, giant area, to little old Petoskey, Michigan. Lori and Paul, let me know what is drawing you to Petoskey. What's your connection to Petoskey? What's bringing you here? And I'd love to hear more. Yes, Lakes of the North is great. SXS is side-by-sides. That is a great area for side-by-sides. I bought a really cool four-wheeler this year. A side-by-side is on my list next, even though I've used the four-wheeler probably 10 times since I bought it, but I plan to use it more. There is just something about being in the woods in Northern Michigan. I'm not a big hunter. I know it's a hugely popular thing to do here. Just not my thing, but I do love being out in the woods, and side-by-sides, four-wheelers, all that stuff. It's just a different way to see parts of Northern Michigan that you don't otherwise see. And again, if you're watching this because you're thinking about relocating to Northern Michigan, we talk all the time about walkable downtowns and being close to the water, the sense of community, all the great events. But what we don't talk about is also the ability to just get away from it all, to get on your side by side, get on your four wheeler, get on your mountain bike, and just drive through the woods and spend hours and hours and hours just unplugging from everything. Which I think, with as busy as everybody is and with as disconnected everybody is, that is something that more of us need to do. So definitely something to consider. I'm super excited to head into the fall season. Halloween's fun downtown Petoskey, Traverse City. Thanksgiving's closer than we realize. Also, the Lions are good. So it's really, I'm telling you, we've come a long ways. The fall in Northern Michigan, it seems like every year gets better and better. So again, we're gonna hop off here in a second. Let me know if anything's on your mind, Ian. What are you seeing for the interest rates? What's the rest of this year going to look like? Before he responds to that, Sunday morning, I literally 2-track from our neighborhood to Meyer to get. Yeah, like it's that kind of stuff. It's 2-tracking. My son and I actually went to a birthday party just down the road from our house over in Afton. We took the 4-wheeler there. It was like a potluck. You had to bring a dish to pass. So we had to find something that fit into the storage of our 4-wheeler. And if you're watching, I say this a lot, follow me on social media, Geno D'Angelo everywhere, Facebook, Instagram, Geno D'Angelo Realtor on Instagram as well. Follow me. I show a lot of what I'm doing behind the scenes and just day-to-day life living in Northern Michigan. We were fearing usable medical, but after joint replacement, everywhere is near. Yeah, absolutely. Look, unless you need something very specialized, thank you for that comment. Unless you need something very specialized, Petoskey and Traverse City has you covered, and they both have great hospitals. We got McLaren here, Munson there. They just opened a Munson. This is a very Northern Michigan story. There was an Art Van building. When Art Van went out of business, it was empty. Munson bought it and is turning an old furniture store, and it's open right now, turned it into a hospital, which I think is great as well. We want 4 seasons, no connection. Unfortunately, we missed you. Yep, you were here. That's right. So sorry. I think we brought the warm up. You absolutely did. If you're ever back in town, I will make sure. Look, tell me ahead of time, and I will block it in my schedule. And I don't care what comes up. I'll make sure I'm here, because I remember I sent you a text. So I don't know if you got it, but I did send Paul a text. I'm very sorry I missed you. One of my favorite things is when people I meet on here stop in and meet me in person, which you'd be surprised how often that happens. And we're gonna start doing something. We're gonna start doing something for you. There's gonna be some kind of souvenir or some kind of gift. If you come from YouTube and stop into our office, we're going to give some kind of souvenir coming up in the near future. We just have to figure out what it is. But again, I'm terribly sorry I missed you. Hard to say on rates, Ian, who, if you don't know by now, Ian is my preferred lender and one of my very best friends in the world. Also the best lender you're ever going to find. So hard to say on rates. The government shutdown has delayed economic data, so volatility has been gone. That said, we are near lows of the year. Hopefully that translates into a better buying experience for everybody, because I think it's been tough out there. We're definitely starting to see, on a more boring note. We talked about a lot of fun stuff tonight. And I love when you guys weigh in and tell me what's going on or what you're thinking about for Northern Michigan, because that's what makes these lives fun. I like it better when you're talking less and I'm answering your questions versus me just talking about my agenda. But to talk about some just meat and potatoes about the real estate market, the listings are starting to stack up. They're starting to sell a little bit slower. We're starting to see, Ian actually made this comment because Ian's in Traverse City, I'm in Petoskey, so I watch both markets the same way he does. I watch Petoskey a little bit closer. He watches Traverse City a little bit closer. And there have been a tremendous amount of price reductions. And I'm getting a lot of sellers who are, who I have listed right now, who are thinking about taking their house off the market, waiting for the spring. And my thought is, hey, if that makes your life easier, if it's better for you for some reason, that's great. If all you're trying to do is get more money for your house, I don't think values are going to be higher right now. I don't think values are going to be higher in the spring than they are right now. So I would tell you, if you've been thinking about buying a house, there is a chance that between now and next spring could be the best time and a long time to buy a house. And as always, love to help you. Would love to answer any of your questions. With that being said, we're coming right on 45 minutes. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for showing up every week. If you're not yet subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and watch for our video coming out next Sunday. It's a good one, and I will talk to you soon.